And I share that story to show you have to look back and you went through it to be able to find why your soul is on this planet.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who've turned their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbie Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started.
Hey everyone, I am so excited to introduce my guest for today. I met her, I think it's about 2 years ago at an event. We were both speaking. The headliner was Gabby Bernstein. I was like, I don't know about Erin, but I was like super excited. The energy was just electric. It was so amazing. So let me tell you a little bit about Erin. She is a mom of two. She's an author of Pain to Purpose, Finding Meaning in the Mess, and the host of thERINpy with Erin Washington, a top 1% personal growth podcast. After struggling with body image and self-worth for almost 2 decades, Erin created the 501c3. I gotta ask her about that. Blue Butterfly Foundation as a safe space for teen girls. Blue Butterfly provides mentorship for advocacy from strong women who have been through all of the things that teen girls are currently struggling with now, sharing their stories and offering advice that they wish they knew when they were a teenager. Welcome, Erin Washington.
Thank you so much for having me.
For sure. So let's just dive in. Even before we started this recording, I was like, this is so good. Like, there's just so much to talk about. So in the front of your other book that you have, which is the Squats and Margaritas, which I have a copy and I have a signed copy right here. So anybody that's watching this, yeah, you can
Vintage.
see. Yeah.
That is the vintage first edition. Yes, love it.
The foreword says, you're not too old, it's not too late, and you can change your life. So tell the listeners, tell me a bit about what prompted you to have that mantra in the front of your book, and do you still live by that?
I absolutely still live by that. Debbie, I struggled for 20 years, 20, with body image, not having any self-worth, multiple eating disorders. That was my mess. Like I just didn't see my value. I was very much obsessed with soccer. And I think that drove a lot of my body stuff. Like I would almost disguise eating disorders. Like I'd have to be fit for soccer. So I wasn't eating. And then my soccer career ended in college and I became depressed and found bulimia. And it all kind of stemmed from soccer is my identity and my value. And now I don't have that anymore. So it's like, why are you even at this college if you're not playing soccer? And I struggled. And I didn't find the meaning in that mess and the purpose in that pain till I had 2 kids and I was, 37. So that is it's not too late. You're not too old. In my prime, you would say like in my 20s, I was a mess. So I found self-worth and profound purpose in my late 30s. And if I can do it and coming out of the mess that I dealt with and finding myself in the wellness space, when I used to throw up my food, anyone can. So I've spoken with you before. You've heard my story. I share exactly what I'd been through, and I want other people to see themselves in me. And I'm super vulnerable to show that now I do this, but here's where I came from. And I found it after kids. I feel like I'm very passionate about moms finding their purpose because I feel like there's all the guilt and it's not about you anymore. You're a mom. And I found this after I had my 2 kids, and I want women to find something that they're lit up by. So I share my story to inspire another woman to find her purpose and share that if you haven't found it yet, look at the stuff you've been through that you don't even want to get into anymore. You're so glad you came out of. a lot of times there's someone still in that. And your purpose is to share your story and help bring them out of it. So your purpose can be found in that dark time. And that's what happened for me. And I just want to inspire other women to do it too.
Hmm. I know you've interviewed Gabby, right?
Yes,
Yeah, and I remember I listened to the interview, and but she's also referred to her pain, her struggles, like with drugs and with, and saying that God gave her that so that she would have a deeper understanding and empathy for others, and like
absolutely.
to really
Yes.
uncover that, like to take that, as you said, turn your pain into purpose.
You don't see it when you're in it. But when you come out, it's like, oh, like that is why I went through all that. And it just makes that purpose, excuse me, it makes that pain not have been in vain. Like it all was meaningful. You had to go through that. And it's like, I wouldn't go to a therapist or I wouldn't even talk to my mom when I was in my mess. Like everybody knew I was struggling, but I just felt like no one would get it. Like I'd go to therapy and it'd be a man like, oh, tell me about your disordered eating. And I'd be like, you don't get it. Or my mom, I was like, you don't get it. I'm fine. I'm fine. Defensive. So I share my story to be like, I get it. So you want to learn from someone that's like a wounded healer, not someone with a clipboard who's always been in great shape and always had a great relationship with their body and is trying to help you because they haven't been through anything. So I had a lot of imposter syndrome when my first book came out because I would get comments as like, you're not an eating disorder professional. You're not a nutritionist. Are you a trainer? And I'm like, no, I'm not any of these things. But that was kind of like I've been through it. Like you want to talk to somebody, here's how I used to live. Here's how I live now. And here's exactly how I did it. And I share that story to show you have to look back and you went through it to be able to find why your soul is on this planet. And now it all makes sense. And it didn't at the time, but I don't know if you want to get into this now, but like with Gabby, I have
Sure.
rebranded. Like I'm sure you saw, I'm not Squats and Margaritas anymore. And when you build a brand, it had been 3 years and I'm pushing squats and margaritas everywhere. I'm like, it's about balance. And on that book that you have, I have abs and I have a margarita and a dumbbell. And it was like, I'm writing as my highest self. And I finally found self worth and my best body. And I hustled it and squats and margaritas was everywhere and I trademarked it. So then I became more sober curious. I'm on a sober journey right now. As we're recording this, it's been 22 days. And
Congratulations. Yeah,
thank
dry
you.
dry January.
Dry January, but honestly, Debbie, I feel like I'm done. And this has been my third attempt. And this time it seems easier. And I'm saying this to say, I talked to Gabby and I was like, I'm squats and margaritas, but it doesn't feel aligned anymore. I barely drink. I don't really talk about fitness. It's more like a spiritual journey. And I was like, it's really like therapy every week, me going through my struggles. Right now, it's co-parenting, divorce, sobriety. I have OCD. My daughter has ADHD, and it's hard. Like I don't know how to parent her, so I go through whatever I'm going through live with someone who has either been through that or is uh, a leader in that field, a professional. And I called it thERINpy because it's me doing therapy live. And I found that my superpower is vulnerability. I've finally found self worth, so I will share all the things and be completely vulnerable. And my hope is that the girl listening can get her the answers without having to be vulnerable. She'll feel seen and less alone. And I'm
Can I
telling
pause you
Gabby
for a
this.
moment?
Yeah.
What I love about you is
Uh-oh.
your vulnerability. So I would say, I would even stretch it a little bit further to say, no, that gives them space to be vulnerable themselves. So,
Ooh,
like,
thank you.
because that's
Yes.
what I've been inspired by you. When I watch your Instagram posts and reels, I'm like, dang, girl, like, you don't wear a single mask. Like
No.
you are vulnerable, you are real, and that's why you have grown such an amazing following. So, yeah, I just want to offer that to you to say
Thank you.
that it gives space. You're holding space for others to also be vulnerable.
That's the nicest compliment you can give me because that's exactly what I want to be for people. But this is very new. If somebody's like, "How can you just share everything?" I was maybe I found this at 40 when I wasn't comfortable in my body or I wasn't comfortable with who I was. I learned I validate myself through my relationships. my husband was shiny and in the NFL. And if I'm with him, then I'm shiny. Until I found my own value, I didn't want to be vulnerable. But you can get to a point where you accept yourself so fully that it's like, I will say, yeah, I used to throw up my food and I have OCD and I'm like, I just, I share it because I fully accept myself and that's just a part of me. And I'm not, there's no reason to hide anything. Like before, I was always, my grid on Instagram was like all the same colors. And I would never, if something was in the background and it was a cute picture of my daughter, I'd make her like do it again because I had to go clean up. It's just, it was so contrived. And I thought that's what you had to do 5 years ago when I started this, because all the accounts that had 1 million followers, and that's where my mind was, grow, 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 they all looked so nice. And when I just started sharing authentically, like you said, we talked off camera. I was sitting in the sauna yesterday and I'm like, wow, I just had this profound thought. I just made a reel right there in the sauna. I don't have makeup on. But those are the ones that hit for people. And just to wrap up with Gabby, I was telling her, this is what I'm called to do. I'm called to stop drinking. I keep getting this guidance but it's going to kill my brand. And she was like, what? Like, she goes, this will elevate your brand. She's like, you should absolutely get rid of squats and margaritas. thERINpy is it. And I was like, okay, if Gabby Bernstein is giving me
Yeah.
she was like, go, stop. She like gave me permission.
Yeah.
And it was scary because like you said, you hustle something and then you're like, well, I'm not that anymore. Like I let the trademark expire because I'm like, it's just not who I am. It still has a place. It totally, I credit squats and margaritas and a balanced lifestyle for finally getting the body image noise and restriction and deprivation off of me. And once that was off, I had more time to focus on other things. Like I started going back to church and looking at my drinking, looking at my relationship. So it had a place. It was very necessary, but it was no longer aligned. And if you are feeling, you're listening to this, what your spirit guides, what God is telling you. And it's like you can keep kind of trickling in a couple of things. Like I was like, oh, I'll try a dry January 2 years ago. Then I started drinking regularly in February. And it's like, it's still there. Like you have to stop drinking. I hear it, but I'm like, let me just step into this fully, this guidance that I'm getting. And it's like opportunities have worked out for me since then. And I'm correlating it all to be like, yes, like you're hearing me now. Here's like the next phase of this. And now you're ready for this because you're finally open to the guidance. And it is such a shift from squats and margaritas, but nothing has ever felt more aligned
I
for me.
can totally see that. And I met you when you had just written the book
Yeah.
and you were just getting into more like the public speaking. And, but it's so interesting. Like when you made that shift, I was like, yeah, that's
Oh,
that's
thanks. You saw
exactly
it.
that's exactly right. So this is where her journey is. And you know, never too late. Like you were 38 or you're 40. Like, I mean, I had that epiphany when I was 50.
Wow.
So I'm so like applauding you that you had that wake up call even earlier. And as you're saying, you're asking the teenage girls. And so imagine the teenage girl having this epiphany. But you know, what's interesting is I have this exercise in my workshop when I do the vision boards that says, what would you say to your 16-year-old self? And
Yeah.
great question, right? And it's what's really interesting is that most of my clients, their 16-year-olds actually had it going on. Like they
Oh,
were like ambitious, they were positive, they had friends, like some had trauma. And so, but most 16-year-olds, so what they say is keep going. Like don't lose yourself in your 20s. It's like that
yes.
seems to be more of where it gets funky. Like we think teenage years, they are hard, but would you agree? Like, what do you think about that?
Absolutely agree. And what a beautiful segue into my nonprofit. That is what we do. Like I bring in women who have been through the body image struggles, relationship struggles. For me, I speak on eating disorders, but I'll have other women talk about domestic violence or being in a abusive relationship. And we come and share our story and share what we would have told ourselves if we could go back to our teenage self. And I focus on middle school and teenage girls. Um, I was in my mess at 16. The eating disorders had already started, but I agree with you. I think most girls, you're confident, you know who you are as a teen, but then in your 20s, for me, and I don't think it's rare, you almost validate yourself by a relationship. You don't see your worth. So it's like if I date the quarterback of the football team, look at that. He picked me. I'm his girlfriend. It's like we try to validate, and I did. And then when you step into exactly who you are, and hopefully it's not 40, like you find it before that, it's no longer aligned. Like you see that relationship as you're talking, I mean, it warms my heart that you see the pivot and that me stepping into this you felt was aligned. But I mean, full disclosure, that when I stepped into this, my relationship went down. Like it was
Interesting.
absolutely like that. I'm in therapy and she'll be like, when did you start to feel like the relationship? And I'm like, I guess like 5 years ago. 5 years ago is when my first book came out and I started speaking and I'm on TV now and absolutely like the opposite of what honestly my husband had signed up for. Like
Right.
I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I had no aspirations for anything else. And it wasn't a bait and switch. It wasn't like I'm going to tell him this and I'm going to launch a brand.
Right, right,
I
right.
didn't see it coming, but fair to him, he didn't sign up for that. And he is retired. And me now speaking and going to do press, I leave and now it puts more on his plate. And I understand it's not what he signed up for, but we're just in different places. We've grown apart and I have evolved into who I know I am supposed to be finally. And in this evolution, this relationship is no longer a match. And it's been such a journey. I filed for divorce 2 years ago.
Hmm.
We are not finalized. We get along great, but it's because we don't live together. Like I'm always like, wow, like our daughter's birthday was 2 days ago and we all went out to dinner and I'll have these moments like, oh, it's working. But then I'm like, it's working because he's going to go back to his house. But I love that this little relationship we have now where we can still be together as a family, but we are not aligned anymore. And it's not a failure. I've been with him for 19 years. We have two beautiful children, and that was all supposed to happen. I will be in his life forever. I love him. I want to see him become the best version of himself. But it would be a what's the word? A disservice to everything that I have been through and what I finally found to stay in this relationship.
Right, right.
And I left the relationship and I never thought that would happen either. It's like where I'm at now. If you told me 5 years ago, you're going to live in Georgia, you're going to be running a nonprofit for teen girls and have a mental health podcast, and you're going to be going through a divorce. None of that was on my bingo card, Debbie. But like,
No.
here I am. And yeah, and then might build a brand around margaritas. And now I'm sober. Like, it's not what I saw coming. But again, I've said it so many times, I've never felt more in alignment.
Right, right. So good. So let's talk a bit more about your kids. So your kids are also now really visible on social media. Like I saw your daughter had her own little podcast where she's trying to interview her little brother.
Yes.
So
Yes.
funny, all those outtakes. I'm sure you had to do a lot of editing with that. So just so fun. So and they just seem to be like, really excited to support you and to be part of the message that you're sending out. Can you tell me a little bit about that piece? Are they memorizing stuff? Are they like what's that like?
No, and I would never want her to like feel like she has to do anything on the camera. Like she'll find a TikTok or something. She's very into Wicked, so she'll teach me like Elphaba and Glinda, and we learn it. And if she brings something to me, I'm like dropping what I'm doing, like yes. Or she'll be
Oh,
like, "Mom, I'm going to do my show." I will set up the microphone. I never want it to be like Maya, you haven't done a show in a while. But if she comes to me, I absolutely let her do her thing. She's in drama and musical theater, and I see so much of me in her. My son is a little bit more shy. Um, they're not, I'm glad that it appears that they are killing it and being happy. They have their moments that they are not happy with me. And they very much see that me making this decision and putting two houses, like I have broken up the family. They're 6 and 8. And I'm in therapy, and my therapist is like, they are going to realize that you were considering them uh, you know, when they're teenagers, they're going to be like, oh, I get it now. And what I was shielding them from and what I was trying to keep them from and keep them in a non toxic environment. It's all going to make sense. Right now, they
sure.
see that I made daddy leave. So
Mhm.
we do deal with that. But it's interesting that you said, like, you notice that she does like things that I do. The final straw for me, I don't want to get into like specifics, but things that were happening in front of her. I just had this moment where I was showing her what love is, what marriage is, what to be accepting of. And when who I see her as the greatest thing I've ever done, and like I would never want her to put up with anything she didn't deserve. She deserves the best. Should have been thinking about that with me, but I see that for her. And if I am showing her that this is how a man talks to a woman, this is what love is, she is going to accept that
That's
from a
right.
relationship. She's going to be like, well, this is what mommies and daddies do.
Right.
That was the final straw for me, Debbie. I was like, I want more for her. And if I show her this, she's going to be accepting of this and think it's normal. And that was what made the final decision. I was like, you have to go. And again, we're great in separate houses. She's not seeing toxic behavior, and it is going to impact her life and what she accepts. So she was the reason. And my son, too. Like, obviously, I don't want him to think that this is how a man talks to his wife. Like, it was toxic. And they were the decision. Like, I am their model for it. I speak a lot on like modeling body image stuff, like get off the scale because your daughter's watching you, but in a relationship too. And any woman that's like, yeah, but at least the family's together. I'm giving them a two-parent household. You're giving them a example of what marriage is, what love is. And if you would not want them to be accepting of that, you have to stop showing it. You're the model. And if that lands for you, you were supposed to hear this right now. Like,
Wow.
what are you showing them
Mm,
marriage is or love is? And would you ever be accepting of them being in that relationship?
right.
Because they're watching you.
Right. So powerful, Erin. That is worth anyone that's listening to that. Like, I hope you caught that. And
Yep.
it makes me think of those commercials that they used to have where they would have little children smoking cigarettes, and people like it's horrific, right? You'd be like, "Ugh." And but it's the same thing. Like, would you want your
Yes.
children to be in that relationship that you're in, that you're enduring, that you're tolerating, and
Yes.
that you think that you're shielding them? But energy is so incredibly powerful. I had that with my daughter when my grandson was born, and she would call me crying. She's like, "You won't stop crying, mom." And I remember those days, like you probably do too, right? I mean, it was a long time ago for me because now she's got the baby, but going over
Yeah.
there and just opening the door, her putting the baby in my arms, and him like just going, ah, and she'd be like, "What is going
Yeah.
on?" And I'm like, "It's your
Her
energy.
energy.
It's just like he's got you all
Yes.
worked up." And so he's feeding off of your energy. And so I'm wondering if, like, thinking that that's probably also the energy in the home, all of that impacts
Yes.
anxiety on a very subconscious level.
They absolutely feel the energy, but you think you're doing them a solid, like, I'm gonna keep my family together. And for me, it was like, I made vows for better or worse. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's gonna sound awful, but it's like you don't want it to be, but if it's a big thing like domestic violence or cheating, it's like, get out, I'm done. When it's not, it's almost harder because you're like, maybe it's not a big thing. He's not cheating on me. It's not abuse, but it's toxic energy that your children are feeling every single day. And you're not doing them a solid by
Mhm.
keeping them in a two-parent household. They are with two happy people now. And we get along better with this distance, him and I. So they're going to two happy households. I had a divorce coach on my show recently, and she divorced when her son was 9 and he's 18. And she's like, recently he came up to me and was like, Mom, I have a better relationship with you and dad than any of my friends that have two parents that are still
Mm.
married.
Mm.
And she was like, thank you. Like, she's like, that made it all. He's like, thank you for doing that. Like, I have a great relationship with dad. If none of his married parents, his friends' parents that were married had that kind of relationship, she was like, it was such a blessing to hear that. Like, I did make the right decision. And when it's not working anymore. And if you are only staying for the kids, please consider that you're doing them a disservice, and they are going to make decisions in relationships based on what you're showing them is acceptable. And that was it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said that you're, I love this, alcohol curious. That's so funny.
Sober curious.
Sober curious.
It means that you're looking at it.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
just drinking freely. Like, you're like, oh, I've had two. I'm very aware.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm a step past sober curious now.
Right. Yes, I would agree. And
Okay.
I did it I've done it multiple times. I had it too where like uh different things in my life had happened, and I just was drinking like every night, and like, I
Yep.
deserve this, I need to relax and all of that. And then I decided to go to be dry for a summer. which
Ooh,
here in Canada, like, well, you said you used to live in Ohio, like you have the beach, like the beach parties, the summer backyard barbecues, all that stuff. And it was so interesting to me how much resistance I got from other people. Like,
yes.
I I was like, "Wow, I hope I never am like that for someone who's choosing this." Like, so that
Yes.
really made me aware of that, to yeah, there's just, like, this real societal pressure to drink.
You're a mirror to them. If you're not drinking, it makes them be like, "Wait, should I? Wait, she
Yeah,
doesn't even drink as much as me." So it forces people to look at their own drinking. It makes people very uncomfortable. I've found that, and you have to just stay in your lane and focus on what you're called to do. Like, do not let other people's pressure. It's a reflection of how they're feeling and they're questioning. And especially if they drink more than you, you're going to be a trigger. Like, well, what does she think about me? If she's thinking, looking at her drinking and she doesn't drink as much as me,
mhm.
it's not about their journey. You referenced that I made a video the other day, yesterday. I'm on the third day of a snow day, and they were out for Martin Luther King Day. So it's like the fourth day where they should be at school where they're not. And had I been drinking, and I don't want to say I wasn't drinking to like, I never really drank to excess.
Right.
I would have a drink every day. Like sometimes I'd have a beer with lunch because I like a beer with whatever I'm eating, a sandwich or fries or something that feels like a beer. Dinner, if I'm having pasta, steak, I want a glass of wine. I never really drank at night because it messes with your sleep. So I was very conscious anyway, but it was such a habit to have a beer or wine or two every day. Had I been doing that, you don't know what's going to be thrown at you. Like, I'm like, oh, the kids are going to school tomorrow. Like, I'll just have a drink. They're not going to school tomorrow or the next day or the day after that. And it was such a moment of like, yes, I'm frustrated because I work and I can't get anything done, but I'm not hungover. Like, there's a mom out there that's like, oh, you wake up, there's no school again. And maybe you had a couple of drinks and you're a little bit irritated or on edge. And I just realized that blessing. Like, it's not ideal. They have virtual learning that they have to get done, but it's like, when am I going to get my stuff done? But I feel great and I'm clear headed. And that was such a blessing. So if you are feeling called to try it, I didn't think I'd be able to I did a dry January last year, but we were talking off camera. Like, I mean, we're almost through January. I don't think it's going to be a dry January. I think I hear the guidance is like, you need to stop drinking. And I'm going to lean into that. And if you're feeling that and you don't think you can do it, I didn't either. I'm on day 22. And what is it, 21 days to change something, like to make something a
Yeah,
habit?
they say it's longer now, but yeah.
Yeah. It's not as hard, attempt. And I had somebody else on my show that was like, people think that the people that are successful, like he was talking about binge eating, but I equate it to drinking. It's like the successful people just have more attempts behind them. It's not easier for them. It's just like it finally hit because maybe this is the seventh time they tried. So if you try it and you're like, this is too hard, you know, have a cocktail, but then try it again. The next time it'll be a little bit easier. And when somebody has found success, they've just had more attempts behind them. And if it's not going to be easy, and it's just breaking that habit. And finally, I think this is my third attempt this time. Like the first two, I was like, people were like, I feel great. And I'm like, I want a beer. But this time, I will say, there's nothing better than waking up absolutely clear and just feeling great. And then you look at like empty calories. I used to drink double IPAs because I love a heavy beer taste, probably over 200 calories. And I would drink a couple of those. So it's like you just start to feel better in your body. You're not
Mhm.
bloated. My skin cleared up. My sleep, which is my favorite, is so much better. There's so many benefits. And I don't know, people are going to push back. Because it's just, you're a mirror. You're a
Yeah,
reflection of
yeah.
what they're looking at in themselves. But if somebody is hearing this today, maybe you were supposed to hear this message too and try it. And it's just a habit. Like, you don't need it. I mean, unless some people I wasn't physically dependent on alcohol. I wasn't drinking to excess, but it's just something you've made part of your life and you can phase it out. So
Right.
try it. You were supposed to hear this. Try it.
Excellent. Wonderful. Yeah, and, one of the things that you said too was, um, that it's like, okay, because I feel better, it's because I, have clarity. I feel better in my body. So that sounds like a vision to me. And like because you can take something away, but then you need to
Mhm.
replace it with something because otherwise the old habits will just come back.
You feel
So,
deprived. Yeah,
pardon?
you take it away. It's deprivation again and
Right.
restriction.
So what do you want
Yeah.
to fill that in? So what do you want to create? What is it that you want for your life? And so you showed me that you have created your vision board and that you have it on
Mhm.
your phone. And I remember a couple years ago, one of the questions that I think I was on your podcast and you asked me, you're like, when the heck do moms find time to create a vision board? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I mostly work with women 40 and up. So, women in their 30s, I mean, I remember those days. I had my fourth child at 36. And so I had three other kids that needed my attention, and it was
Yes.
bonkers town. Like, it was crazy. And so you're absolutely right. I mean, when do you? But it's one of the highest forms of self-care. And if you're wanting to change your life, if you're wanting to, like the things that Erin was talking about, replace the drinking. In my case, I stopped smoking. Like, people are like,
Yeah.
"What? You smoked?" Yeah, up until September. Now, I will say I was just in the Dominican. I'm going to be transparent here. I had a couple of puffs as I was having some alcohol, but I'm back off it
Yep.
again. I did not buy a pack.
I
Um,
wanna ask about that because 'cause I'm worried about that, get spontaneous rewarding of the, craving. It's like if you have a drink like, I'll just have one drink. It didn't set you back? Like that how was that? Just
no,
having a
the
couple
thing is, because I was like, I am not a smoker.
'kay.
I'm not a smoker. Like,
It's a mindset.
I smoked, but I'm no longer a smoker.
I love that reframe. You look at it, it's not something you can't have. I'm a person who doesn't drink. I'm a person who doesn't smoke. It's like you're manifesting, you're being that person.
Yeah,
It's not, I can't have that. I'm a person who doesn't drink,
right.
and you're a person who doesn't
I'm a
smoke.
non-drinker. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you take that identity, looking back at what happened there and say that happened. Okay. What am I going to put in place to make sure that doesn't happen again? So I'm going away again in a few weeks. And I remember my husband asking me even before this trip, he's like, do you want a pack of smokes to go? And I said, no. Like, what, preparing myself to fail? That's a terrible idea. Like,
Yes.
don't take, like, so really putting those things in place, but it's because I have this vision of, like, this is the future version of me, and I'm going to invite those decisions into today.
Yes, I love that, and I love that you just shared that because I have OCD and I'm a perfectionist, and I see all these accounts that I follow, and it's like 739 days sober, and I am so worried about messing up the number, and so for me, I'm like, I'm gonna do 30 days. I committed to 40 days. My brother-in-law is like, "No, why 30? Do 40." And I'm like, "Oh," he's in my mind. So I'm committed to 40 days. But if I am at a really nice steakhouse and I wanna have a nice glass of wine, I don't want it to be like, it's over. I failed. I back to day zero. No, you still have those 40 days. And it's not when I used to live in my mess with the eating, it was always like a start stop. Like I blew it. For me, I had a cookie. It's over. I
Yeah,
blew it. So now I have to eat all the cookies and I'll start over on Monday.
right.
It is a lifestyle change. If you have a glass of wine, it's not over because if you're looking at it like that, it's like how I used to be. I have a glass of wine. When I'm going to have the bottle of wine, I'll start again on Monday. It is not a start. It's not the numbers. Like, don't be so, like, you could be like, now I'm a smoker because I had a puff. You can't look at it that way, or you will allow for more slip ups,
Right.
or it's a journey. I've had alcohol out of my system for 3 weeks. If I have a glass of wine, I'm not, but if I have one, it's not like, now I may as well just drink for the weekend. Like, don't
Yeah.
look at it like that. Like, make a lifestyle change. It's not over if you have a puff on a cigarette. You've made a lifestyle change towards the vision that you see of yourself, that you don't smoke and I don't drink. And you can clearly like see that version of yourself. And if you're getting that guidance, I was blocking it, Debbie. Like, I would be like, oh, I don't know. I would feel cringy sharing drinking reels. Like, and during COVID, I was perpetuating mom drinking. Like, the schools are closed and the gyms are closed. Here's a quarantini. Like, I can't even look at it now. I was Fox 5's like lifestyle. They would like check in on me during COVID, or I did a segment, how not to be hungover. They're like, and the
I
fact that
saw that, and you're like, cringe.
I hate it. Like, I mean, that was my journey, but like the fact that they were like, Erin will know what to do. She's the big drinker. Let's have her on. And I'm like, make sure you eat before you go to bed. And I have evolved so much that was 4 years ago, but like you can change. Like, I was the hangover
You
expert.
can change
And
like
now
that.
you can change. It's not like, even if you build a whole brand around it, you
Amazing.
can pivot. Like the women that I wanted to talk to about their sobriety journey, I'd be like, I host squats and margaritas. And I'd be like, but I don't really drink anymore. And it wasn't aligned. So I'm like, I'm not squats and margaritas. And it was scary, but you have to just lean into the guidance. You know what you're seeing for yourself or what you're being called to do, but it's like, it's scary or it's going to be hard. So you're kind of like blocking it out. Step into it. Give it a month. Step into what you're being guided to do. It's like opportunities that I have been hustling for so long are just back. And I don't think that it's a coincidence.
No, that's law of vibration.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how
Okay.
the way the universal laws work. It's absolutely. And another little sign that you can look for is I used to get gifts from my girlfriends and people at work, and it would be either shoes, like little memes or little things about shoes, or alcohol, like a bottle of wine. Because those were like I was kind of the diva
Bless
around
you.
wine and shoes, and I'm like, and that was even before I had a brand. But
You were
now
shoes and margarita. I was squats and margaritas. You were shoes and margaritas.
I still love pretty shoes and I still love a glass of wine, but
I
it's
know.
like now, I get people sending me reels or things, and they all have to do with personal development or Jack Canfield or, so
Yeah.
all and I'm like, it's landing. Like, so the person
Yes.
I am being and becoming, that is now coming back. And like we talked about that mirror, that's what's being reflected back, which is
Love that.
incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
So, little aside, I heard you say your brother-in-law said that to you. Did he sing it to you by chance?
Wrong brother, other brother-in-law.
Ah,
No, well, that's very funny that you said that because I don't want to put his business. I noticed that he's not drinking.
mm,
Like we'll be out places and I'm like, the one you're talking about, the singer one. But no, my other brother-in-law is just I just very much look up to him. He's younger than me, but he will make a goal. He's always on something like 100 days. He'll do it. And I'm like, you look great. And he's like, yeah, I feel great. I'm not drinking. And he inspires me. So when I said 30 days, he's like, why not 40? And I'm like, he, but he is an inspiration to me because I don't know, he just lives he'll like make a rule. And I was very into the rules when I was in my eating disorder mess. So I didn't want to I didn't want it to be a rule because then I'd go back to like restriction and
right.
deprivation. But like I said yesterday, had I not made a rule that I was not drinking in January, this snow day trifecta would have gone a lot different. The sleep, like I would always need a nap. I always be like, well, I'm a working mom. I need a nap. Like if somebody had an hour, I don't know, somebody would maybe want to go online shopping or go meet a friend for a drink. If I have an hour, I was taking a nap. I've noticed in this new journey, I don't need a nap because
Hmm,
I'm sleeping better.
hmm.
And I'm just a better version of myself. Like I would be short with my kids during these snow days because I'd be tired because I was drinking and my sleep was affected. There's just so many benefits. And all of these snow days hit once I had the rule in place. Now I have something to compare it to. A year ago, if I would have gotten an email that I got last night, a third day, I would have absolutely poured a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Like, woe is me. This is what we do. And we need wine because our kids are home. That's how I used to live. And I'm just a completely different person
Well, what I hear you say is discipline, and so you can take
now.
again I mean, it might the bars or the pendulum swung way too far for you in terms of it becoming rules and really rigid. But
Yes.
the advantage of discipline, they are just small habits that you've committed to every day. That then
Yes.
it's like I have it in my workshop saying little hinges swing open big doors. So it's those
Yes.
small habits of discipline that you're choosing in those moments, moment by moment, you're choosing to be that version of you, that higher version of you, that then are going to swing, as you said, are now swinging open those big doors of opportunity that are coming through.
Yes.
Because sometimes I think we think that, oh, that big opportunity is just going to like, da, 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 arrive. No, I mean, it takes persistence and work and discipline. And that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, and you have to be, like, allowing of it and, like, receiving the big opportunities. I was so forcing and
Mm,
pushing like, there is a show that I'm very close to booking, but the last year, it was, like, me for like, "Hi, producers, just checking in," forcing energy, and now I've kinda stepped back, and it's, like, allowing energy, and now they're back. It's like you have to it's not always being in a forcing energy. I've changed my lifestyle and just kinda allowing whatever comes to come, and they're back. And I'm not forcing. And you made me think of this. I have to share this. the binge eating expert that I had on my show. I was like, every time you talk about your food monster, it's my wine monster. And he's like, people that are, if you're someone's looking at their drinking or not smoking, it's like you think, I don't want a craving because it's like so uncomfortable. You want the cravings to come so you cannot reward them. And then the next time it comes, you don't reward again. It's another opportunity. Your body is not going to crave something it knows it's not going to get. So wanting to putting yourself in this position where I'm out at a football game or I'm out at a bar and people are drinking and it's an opportunity to drink, but you're not drinking. It's just making it a little bit easier every time. And then your body will stop craving what it knows it's not going to get. So anybody that's like hold up in their house, like I can't go out because then I'll have a craving and it'll be so hard. Invite the cravings, don't reward the cravings. And then it's like you have another one up on your craving, my wine monster or your food monster, your smoking monster. Let it have a craving. Don't reward the craving. And it's just going to make it easier next time. And your body will eventually not crave what it knows it's never going to get. So
So good.
that was a reframe for me. I'm like, I can't go
Mhm.
out. He's like, go out and don't drink. And then your body's like, or your brain is like, huh. And then you don't even want it anymore. But that's how you have to welcome the cravings and not reward them.
Right. So good. That is awesome. All right.
Not mine. I stole that from someone, but I
No,
wanted to
you're
share it in
adopting it
case
and
you
giving it back here. So, I mean, is anything really brand new? No.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, we're
true.
just all reframing different ideas and taking them
True.
for ourselves. So, I mean, I could just talk to you for hours. This is just so good.
Same.
So, but how can people get more of you? Like, where can they find you, follow you? How can I
Yeah.
support you?
Oh, you always support me. Instagram, it's I am Erin Washington. And my show is called thERINpy with Erin Washington, wherever you get your podcasts. My book From Pain to Purpose, Finding Meaning in the Mess is on Amazon. Those are all the places.
That's awesome. Hey, what's on your vision board?
Ooh, on my vision board, it's some guests that I would like to get on my show.
Hmm?
Why don't we just, I don't know, is this
There
video?
we go. Yeah, it will be on YouTube.
We got Live with Kelly and Mark, which is coming in. So it says sober, trending podcasts, travel. Specifically, I'm feeling like I need to go to Europe on a solo trip. That is there. There's like a lovely couple, maybe a relationship. My kids, just being locked in with them. And I don't know if you can see the middle is like an illustration
Yeah.
of kids. I wrote a children's book and I just got a publisher. And that is the cover that I just look at every day that I'm going to bring into the world. It's called I'm Just Like Me. And it's for preschool to kindergarten, just showing kids that you're just the way you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be like anyone else. And the comparison that we feel to be like this person or look like that person, like that's not the point. You are here to be you. And I don't feel like there's a book that we get that allows us to just accept that. Like that's the point. You're not supposed to. And it rhymes. I swear God downloaded it into my brain and it is finally in the works. I self-published my first two books. This is my first time working with a publisher and I felt like this book was bigger and I want it to be in bookstores. My other two are just on Amazon. So I signed with a publisher. It's an illustration right now, but I'm so excited to bring I'm Just Like Me
That's the
to the
title of
world.
it. I'm just like me.
I'm just like me. And
Oh,
it, let me see. I'll give you some. Have you ever asked God why he made you like you? It's okay to say yes because I ask him too. I ask him why my eyes are brown when all my friends have blue and why I'm taller than my classmates and wear a bigger shoe. Like everything rhymes. And it was very much inspired by my daughter, who is biracial and 5'3" in the third grade.
wow.
Uh, and it's always like, what is she? Like, she's always like, my ponytail, nobody's ponytail looks like this because she has curly hair. And I'm like, you're not supposed to look like anyone else. You were supposed to look like you. Like, that's the point. You were here to look like this and be like this. And once the kids have that message, like they'll stop comparing. Like, that's the point. You're not supposed to, I'm not supposed to look like you. I'm supposed to look like me. I think the end is, I'm just the way I'm meant to be. I'm not like you. I'm just like me. And one day I just started write like it was just all every stanza rhymed and I'm like I am supposed to write this book and it goes along like I talk to teenage girls but I feel like the message could hit earlier, especially mothering the child that I have who is 5'3" and biracial and always telling me she doesn't look like her classmates. I'm like, you're not supposed to. Like I'm so excited to bring that book to life.
Makes me think of Snoop Dogg, I think, right? And his
It
rhyming
does?
and his affirmations. Like, wonder if this
Yeah.
could turn into some musical kind of.
Snoop, if you're here, I know you listen to this podcast. Hit me up. I am Erin Washington. This is a song or a show or a musical. It is. I'm seriously like it's not even my. God put it on my brain. Everything rhymes, and it is exactly the message that I want kids to have. So I guess that's what's come. My show, and then I'm just like me will be manifesting in this year. I don't know when.
Yes.
It is a journey working with a publisher and having illustrations, and you have a vision and they have a vision, but it's coming, and I'm very proud of it.
You should be. This is
Thank you.
amazing. All right. Well, Erin, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for daring to declare. Like, that is the theme of your life for sure. Being so vulnerable, open, so that you can create space for others to do the same. Shining bright, no longer tolerating what doesn't serve you, and setting that vision ahead of you and going forward, and inviting others along on your journey. It's just so inspiring.
Thank you so much for seeing me and validating that. It means more than you know.
Take care, everybody. Cheers.
Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY Vision Board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this: flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view, or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers, this course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. Head over to our website, debbiesluice.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.